Hello everyone, Jay Whitner here with Space Headlines. We do a quick recap of what's going on in the world of space, and today we'll be talking about early January of 2018. Our first item is a new logo that's been developed by NASA. As you may be aware, this year, 2018, will mark the 60-year anniversary of the agency, and they've created this new logo to commemorate that. And presumably later on in the year, they'll start rolling this out, using it a lot, because NASA considers October the 1st to be their official birthday. Next, we have Internet from Space. This is something that is currently available, but when it's provided by satellites in higher orbit, there are these latency problems of delays in using the internet, which people find difficult, and depending on the application, it can be a serious problem. So several firms are working on new satellites in lower orbits that will provide low latency access to the internet. There are 8 firms currently working on this. Some of the better known firms, SpaceX, Boeing, and SES-03B. In 2018, we're going to see satellite production and some launches. And SpaceX's plans are perhaps the best known. They're looking at over 4,000 satellites in low Earth orbit, with more to come later. So we could really see 2018 be the real beginning of heavy internet use through satellite. 2017 was a banner year for the United States and access to space, as documented by all the launches that happened. Last year, 2017, was the first year in 12 years that the United States had the most launches. We had it by a big margin. The United States had 29 launches last year, and the next closest nation was Russia with 20 launches. And we really owe this leap forward in our space capabilities to SpaceX. They conducted 62%, excuse me, 62% of these launches last year for the United States. So they're the real difference in what's going on in our space access. Curiosity continues to explore the surface of Mars, finding interesting things on a regular basis, taking nice imagery of the planet and so forth. Some recent news is that Curiosity detected some very small structures. These are really, really tiny. They are like 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters wide and about 5 millimeters long. So these are really, really small. But due to their shape and other characteristics, there's a question as to whether these came about through geological activity or biological activity. And one aspect of this is they strongly resemble some fossils that we find here on Earth called Ordovician, if I'm pronouncing that right, fossils. So quite interesting findings from Mars. Japan is trying something quite novel. They launched a new satellite, and the goal of this satellite is to sort of take up station where no satellite has gone before. The idea is for this satellite to operate in very low orbits. The problem with really low orbits is atmospheric drag. So you see from this artist's conception here that it has an ion engine. So the thrust of the ion engine will counterbalance the atmospheric drag, allowing it to operate at a very low orbit. The name is Tsubame, and it'll be very interesting to see if this is a successful operation, because as far as I know, this is an area that's pretty much unexplored. There were some thoughts to do this using tethers earlier. Perhaps this ion drive will be a better solution. SpaceX's Falcon Heavy, which is one of the big events that we're all looking forward to here in 2018, is in Florida, getting ready for launch, and in early January, Elon Musk announced that they want to fly the Falcon Heavy around the end of January. But of course, they're going to need to do a static fire test first of all 27 engines simultaneously. So we have to get that test done. And on their manifest already, there's 3 Falcon Heavy flights on the books for 2018. So this is a pivotal thing for our future efforts in space, with the Falcon Heavy having a capability of launching payloads twice the mass of any existing rocket. We're seeing some interesting moves from France and Germany in the reusable rocket world. The big news that people have been paying attention to is Ariane 6, which they have long-term plans to make be reusable or partly reusable. But less known is a small rocket project called Callisto, and there was some news about it this month. This rocket is a small rocket, small payloads. It's about 45 feet tall, this rocket, and they're planning to have the first flight in 2020, and this would be operating in combination with the Ariane 6. So hopefully this would be the dedicated small launcher that would be used for ESA, France, German operations. The Zuma launch. Normally, I really don't like talking much about things that are so unclear what's really going on, but this got so much news coverage, I feel like I have to mention it anyway. There was a launch of a classified government payload called Zuma, conducted by SpaceX. And this mysterious mission remains pretty mysterious. The launch happened. It's not clear what the payload was, and it's not clear if the satellite was deployed in the proper orbit or not. If the satellite did not reach its proper orbit, it's not clear why. SpaceX has said that the rocket performed exactly as it was supposed to. And the fact that the first stage successfully returned and landed and other factors seem to indicate that the Falcon 9 performed very well. But this whole area is quite unclear, and I'm not sure when it will resolve. But I did want to report it and that it happened. We're just not sure what happened. We had some interesting lunar news as well. One of the ideas of future lunar bases is to put them into lava tubes beneath the lunar surface. There's a lot of advantages here in terms of radiation mitigation and moderating the temperature swings and other things. But there's a lot of aspects of using these lava tubes. A lot of indications of lava tubes have been found in various parts of the moon. Over 200 different things have been identified. The new part that's going on now is that they're now seeing signs in the polar regions of the moon. This is especially interesting because of the ice resources at the polar regions and certain areas where there's light almost all the time for solar power. So perhaps we'll see some underground bases on the moon around the poles, which would be very exciting. Our last item has to do with the new version of the space race. On our left, we have Dragon 2 by SpaceX. On the right, Boeing Starliner. They are going head-to-head in terms of the commercial crew opportunity to take astronauts to and from the International Space Station. Where we stand now is the next really big event is uncrewed launches of these two capsules. Right now, we are neck and neck with both firms planning to do their uncrewed launches in August of this year. Later in the year, they both plan to do crewed launches. Boeing is aiming at November. SpaceX is aiming at December. So we are very close to a dead heat in terms of who will be the first to take people into space from U.S. Launch facilities, which has been a long time coming since the space shuttle retired. So place your bets. We'll see who's first. That's it for our news covering the first half of January 2018. Check back with us and we'll be covering what happens in the second half of January of 2018. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you then.